So guys, it's official as Mr. Peter Obi and Mr. Dele Farotimi take the lead in the City Boy movement. So guys, take a look at this. This person here tweeted and said, Peter Obi is a village boy 100%, and this other person here said, it is official. Hey, village boy movement. This is Peter Obi, Dele Farotimi, Mr. Tanko, and the other guy putting on the village guy t-shirt. So guys, another movement has been bettered. But guys, the bad news is that Tinubu has quickly gone ahead to sign the bill that was passed by the House of Assembly. Tinubu didn't waste time. The bill that did not satisfy Nigerians is what Tinubu quickly went ahead to sign, and that has had a whole lot of backlash. Now I'm going to first of all allow you to take a look at what Mr. Peter for Nigeria has got to say. Like he tweeted here saying, Dear Chief Bola Tinubu, it is mandatory real-time transmission of result or nothing. It is not too late to do the right thing. Forward the bill immediately to the Senate and House of Assembly for amendment of Section 60. We reject legalizing rigging. What is Tinubu afraid of? 2027, our vote must count. This is what the message Peter is sending. And you can see Mr. Tanko has also responded saying, criminality at its best. Everybody should be ready for an electoral showdown. Nigeria must be free from criminality. Now, the breaking news came from Channels Television. Breaking news, Tinubu signs electoral bill into law. We didn't know that Tinubu can be this fast too in taking actions, you know. We didn't know that Tinubu can swiftly take action. Now, this guy here say, trap where we set don't to catch elephant, don't catch good. Nigerians, don't be discouraged. We shall overcome. So it's all about Tinubu quickly signing this bill into law so that they will tell us there was no network. That's why they transmitted manually so that they can alter the figure. So guys, Nigeria is not going to survive under this Tinubu's leadership. When you look at Tinubu, somebody who has all kinds of bad history, you know, instead of him to use this opportunity to write his name on a platter of gold, Tinubu is still going the other way around. Anyway guys, let me allow you to take a look at the message Peter for Nigeria has for Tinubu, and then you are going to be listening to the discussion around Peter Obi's village boy movement. Take your time, watch this video, let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Now take a look.
Crisscrossing the whole country up to the extent that some young billionaires, Obi Kubana or Kubana chief priest, have been adopted into the movement, and it's been like a smoky fire all over the place. But just a flip on the other side is the question people have been asking. So is it only the city we concentrate on? But just along the line, Obi came up with the village boys movement.
Or people came up with the village boys movement.
Well, whether it's people associated with Peter Obi came up with the village boys movement. This election is going to be very sweet because in 2022-2023, anything Obi touched, it was like a Midas touch. Boom! It catches fire. The village boys movement. Will it overtake the city boys movement? Of course, everybody as it is, whether you live in the city, most of them are associated with the village, especially as it looks as if the city boys movement is exclusive. Okafor, are we going to be some smoky guns? See some smoky guns in these two movements?
Well, the two movements have what we can say that are not of the same purpose, but they sound alike. A city boys movement is geared towards 2027 predominantly. You know, if you look at what they are doing and the kind of networks they are forming among elites, among those who are capable, among those who have network and things like that. And village movement, you know, according to, if you go to their website, you will see that their interest is to ensure that rural corners of our society is touched with development, is touched with campaign, is touched with sensitization, and they are also touched by a sense of patriotism. You know, but again, the question you're going to ask, P2B, you know, coming into all this again, is village boys movement going to override obedient movement, or they are going to merge them into one? Because you don't have the kind of network that the city boys movement has, because they have power behind them, but you just have people, which is very important, but we know how it works in this line. I would encourage P2B to, you know, now that he's openly, you know, associated, you can see the t-shirt was looking good on him, you know, let him ensure he merges the obedient movement and city boys movement into a structure that village boys movement into a structure that he can use come 2027 if he's going to be on ballot, which he has promised Nigerians that he is going to be on ballot.
I still want you to show us that picture again of that T-shirt being done by the Village Boys Movement organizers and let's see what it looks like on them, because you can
see Dele Farotimi put it on.
Yes,
you can see Tanko there.
Yes,
Usopp to be himself.
Yeah.
He's looking good on them. Yeah, beyond that, but Nigerians wants to see this, give you power. Let me tell you, no matter how lofty your manifesto is, no matter how good your intentions are, you need power to implement those programs.
Okay, I'll come to you on that, because I don't totally agree with you with all your analogy. But let me come to my G. Philip, let's look at the City Boys movement. They have a lot of power, they have a lot of money. Do you think they can buy the Village Boys movement and oppress them in such a way to get vote from them? Because don't forget, hunger has been weaponized.
Thank you very much. You see, when you put the pictures of the City Boy movement and the Village Boys movement side by side, what do you get? It shows that the City Boys movement are clearly on a mission. Their mission is to purchase the election of 2027 for President Bola Ahmed Tinubu for president. They are not minding their word. All the billionaires in this country, they are keyed into it, and they said, look, we have the money, we got the power, we're going to pay for whatever it takes to retain Mr. Tinubu in office. But on the flip side, the Village Boy movement are saying that, look, the power belongs to the people, and the people are the voice of God. All right, the power belongs to God, and the people are the representative of God on earth. For what he read from their website, they are saying, we know that you have had the money, but this is what we represent. If you see the likes of Dele Farotimi there, it clearly shows where these people are going. What they stand for is good governance. And what is good governance? Good governance is all about clear vision of government, clear policy that stand and go for development of the society. A government that will put policy in place, that will put table on the table of the masses, that will provide jobs, that will provide good education and good health facility and good health equipment for and good welfareism, that will take care of the people so that the people can live healthier and they will have a longer lifespan. This is what these people represented. But on the other side, the city boys are saying that, look, we need to preserve our business. We need Bola to remain there, so that they need poverty to be in the society, so that they can be the only king around, so that the people can worship them. They can remain city boy forever. But on the other side, the Village Boy movement want development to spread beyond the city to the villages and the rural area, to the hamlet, so that everybody can feel the impact.
Okay, let me come to you. Let's do a little analogy.
Yeah.
In the cities, as we have, we are not enjoying the impact of development. Mm-hmm. Take it. Mm-hmm. Am I correct? Mm-hmm. Now, also, money is also in the hands of few elites. Yeah. Because since this administration, we've had crises like the fuel increase, naira has been devalued, dollar, all these things are in the city. So even in the city, a lot of people are feeling the impact of this administration, not on the right side but on the wrong side. Now go back to the villages. In the villages, we have a lot of kidnapping, terrorist activities, and all whatnot. So both in the city and in the village, there is issue. The City Boys movement, what do they represent?
So that is why I said something that you disagree with, but I would just doubt if any other person would disagree with that, except you didn't understand me. I said no matter how lofty your manifesto is, you need power to implement it. The budget of Nigeria today is being run by Asiwaju, not P2B. If P2B wants to run the budget of Nigeria and touch the life of people, he has to be the president. Because opposition voice, you are going to say what you are going to say, and the people in government are going to operate the government policy. That is why it is important that this Village Boys movement, obedient movement, is galvanized together in such a way that it will marshal the movement of P2B into Asura, beyond activism and elevation of our emotional feeling, to the way of playing to gallery. It should be brought together. It should be structured that this will marshal his movement into Aso Rock. Yes, looking at what the City Boys movement has looked at, I will ensure that our villages are secure. These are the people you cannot convince. Not convince with the name City Boys. The name City Boys. There's not much.
So the village boys movement. Now you have not been able to manage these other ones very well. How will you be able to manage the village boys movement?
Very well. You see, Peter Obi, whether we like it or not, we cannot say wholeheartedly that is a bad manager because he has track records. Peter Obi had business that are running today that runs into billions of naira and even in dollars. But I can't help but to agree with him that no matter how lofty your idea is, if you don't have power, you can't implement it. So therefore, you can't impact the society. That being said, Obi and the labor, the obedient movement, you can see that yes, when the obedient movement came on board, it was spontaneous. It did not give room for structural arrangement. But as it is today, the obedient movement is well structured, headed by Dr. Yunusu Tanko. So it's in place. And I believe strongly that the village boy movement has just emerged to counter the city boys movement.
Let me stop you. I will allow you. I just want to answer your question.
Yes.
The obedient movement that you are talking about, we don't need to have structures in states, local government, senatorial district, constituency. I mean, this thing needs to trickle down.
You may not know because you are not with them, but I can tell you for free that they have the trust and downward, starting with Tanko as the head of the pyramid, and it watered down. They have
from Tanko. Mention one other person.
For instance, in Delta State, we have Mr. Onoshe as the state coordinator, and he's also double as the South coordinator. To tell you that there is structure, it cut across the country, and I can tell you for free that this village boy movement, as it is today, the faces I've seen, that the Dele Farotimi might be the one that will head it, and it will be well organized. Just give Peter Obi some time, and you will see what we come out with. People keep on saying that Peter Obi couldn't manage Labour Party. Yes, he may have he must have fought in that respect, but that's not to say that Obi lack managerial ability and he cannot put up structure. And I believe strongly that the village boy movement and the obedient movement will be harmonized. They will at some point they will come together because they had same purpose. The only reason why the village boy had to go, they needed a name that counter the city boy. It's not as if the obedient is different from the village boy.
All right. I will read something, then I will allow you to conclude. One of our viewers said, if 2023 was a political awakening, 2027 could be a political restructuring. The question is, will the village boys remain a slogan or become a movement powerful enough to change the Nigeria political map? Then the other guy said, City Boy is an elitist.
Who said the first one?
One Kamala Obedu. Then Peter Oyado said, City Boy is an elitist club where members is purely an invitation, while Village Boy is a grassroots club where all are welcome. Do you believe in this?
Well, it's not about belief. The first statement aligned with what I said, that if you really want the result, you have to be focused on the result. It's easy to preach and make people happy, but how many of them are going to repent as a result of your preaching? How many of them are going to get closer to God as a result of your preaching? The preaching that you might be preaching that people will end up turning to God might not be the one somebody in the crowd will be saying, "Oh, Pastor, right on." No, it's the one they will all keep quiet. And what is this man talking today? Because you're hitting them where they are going to really make changes in their life and get closer to God. So we are saying that the movement should be result focused. They should be result oriented. Like he said, I've always told people that you do not expect everybody to have the same leadership style. Or this leadership style might be different from your own leadership style. It doesn't mean he doesn't know how to lead.
So it's result we are looking at.
It's results. If his leadership style gives him the result. Beautiful. Nigerians want the result so that come 2027, instead of us seeing the incumbent telling us the subsidy is gone, everything is gone, he could say, oh, electricity is here, infrastructure is here, you know, and people will now say, oh, that thing you have been telling us behind the scene, it is now time to do it.
All right, just one more comment, then I'll take a leave. He said, Oscar, next say if Nigerians do not stand up against the political thieves at the Senate, we'll be looking at anarchy comes 2027. Of course, the electoral stuff at the Senate, at the National Assembly, is still gaining a lot of momentum. And for the first time, Okafor, I saw strong opposition in the House of House of Reps, where people are saying, no, this can't happen. We'll be right back on last slide. Yes.
So the master strategist president Bola Tinubu don quickly sign bill where Akpabio passed yesterday. Under how many hours when I don't sign electoral act bill into law? Tinubu, why are you running? APC federal affliction, why are you running? Waiting they pursue una. The best form of campaign is good leadership. If you do well for the people, you don't need all this mischief. So when they do a wuru to quickly sign a bill that you believe can impose on Nigerians incompetent and incapacitated leadership, we say you lie. You are deceiving yourselves, APC federal affliction, because Oriburuku Leshe. This bill, whether they sign them into law, it will be amended and must be amended. Any other part of the bill where Nigerians accept can stay. The clause on mandatory real-time transmission of result must be amended to not have a proviso. That part where when I don't go put the KELEG, say that where there is no network, they can use from EC8A form to go back to your manual coalition of result. We reject it. The gods reject it. The people reject it. Because that is when a shrine of electoral malpractice. That is your caveat for election rigging and manipulation. Nigerians say no. Nigerians make una no panic, because as it is right now, it is time for Nigerians to mobilize. The Electoral Act Amendment Bill, be the new act where una don't sign, must go back to the National Assembly for amendment of that section 60, because Nigerians do not need provisions that will empower criminals to rig elections. Nigerians, make nobody panic. All the confusion you are seeing with all this run around where they do to do backdoor passage of a bill was all part of the plan. They dance where Akpabio, they dance for Senate, the people where they play drum for the day presidential villa. INEC is not neutral, because Joash Amukwiton will be worse than Mahmoud Yakubu. Everything you see Akpabio and the House leadership play for National Assembly is a script perfectly written by the presidential villa and directed by President Bola Tinubu for the Senate and House of Reps to act out. But as it is today, Nigerians is opportunity to mobilize. The same weapon where they want use to kill you, you must use it to liberate yourself and send criminals out of power. APC, Nigerians reject any bill that has a clause that is going to empower people to rig election. So as it be now, this is not a time to become discouraged or say they don't rig and they don't do this. We have not reached the end of Electoral Act Amendment Bill. No, President Tinubu, we want mandatory real-time electronic technology for transmission of result to be compulsory, and it must be justiciable. Any network where una say una no get Oriburuku Lenshe, the 200 billion where INEC say they want use for electronic technology, waiting happen? Do they want to go to space? Do they want to go to the moon to go and get satellites? Oriburuku Lenshe INEC, Oriburuku Lenshe National Assembly, Oriburuku Lenshe Presidency. Nigerians, this is a time for all Nigerians to mobilize, because if you allow this assault on democracy to stay, then we can foreclose Nigeria as a country. It then means we want to fully hand over Nigeria to a handful of criminals to decide our collective destinies. President Tinubu and National Assembly, it is not too late to do the right thing. You are going to repeal that bill, re-amend the section that Nigerians are demanding. Mandatory real-time electronic transmission of results without proviso, without any shenanigans. Nigerians, is shine your eye. Now express we dey. Continue. Congratulations on running to sign a bill. The only bill where una don't fit sign, where fast past this one. Now when Tinubu want to borrow money from OPE to claim money points, but this one una don't break Guinness World Record. Less than how many hours? Because you rely on mischief, you rely on loopholes. Why are you running? Now una get governor, get senator, judiciary, INEC, township boys, a city or Losho, everybody called city, everything. Yet you are afraid of one single clause, mandatory real-time electronic transmission of result. We say na lie. On this mandate of mandatory transmission electronic we stand, and Nigerians must get the right thing. Our votes must count, because 2027 nobody will steal our mandate again. The people reject you, the gods reject you. You are amongst leaders most miserable. Nigeria.
Osalopwa, we set trap. Abuja Komo. Edo Komo. Oshopole. Today not. We set trap. Make we take catch elephant. We don't catch, he go to. So we come Abuja, come protest, say, give us real-time electronic transmission of results. Senate and House of Rep, and now presidency don't sign now. Say yes, take real-time mandatory electronic transmission of results. Protesters, oh yeah, so we don't get win. 1-0. But they come up put small hope for the under, say, if network no day, you can transmit it manually. In the coming days, if we are not able to change this law, we go explain to Nigerians how they go to use this law to protect their vote. Nigerians, oh yeah. Nigerians, be focused. We set trap to catch elephants. We don't catch hyena. We don't catch giraffe. Worry. In the coming days, in the coming weeks, in the coming months, we go explain to Nigerians how they go tell you even this Obubu Yeye law when they sign. Congratulations, Nigerians. However, we will never give up on this country. We will never give up on this democracy. Now, this law when they sign, so now go test their back. Electoral reform is a must for the people of Nigeria. Thank you and God bless you.
After back and forth, we even heard some rest members dodging or avoiding sessions, eventually harmonized the position and took that off the Senate. And Nigerians are enraged. Well, the majority have had their way. As a matter of fact, the APC is having its world congresses today across the country. But that's not a conversation. We're going to bring in our guest, Mr. Peter Aka. He joins us from Abuja studio, representing Nigeria. He's known as Randy Peters on social media. Peter, good morning. Thank you for coming on the program.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
Okay, so before we come to you for my first question, I want Nigerians who were not following yesterday what had played out, because there were things happening at plenary in both chambers and things happening outside the chamber. So let's take a listen. So we touched, maybe later we'll show you what played out at the Senate, where the Senate was, the call for a division where senators voted, so we're clear on who voted for what. Just context to that video you saw, clause by clause consideration after conference committee has harmonized it to show, okay, to agree on what has been harmonized in that sense. So they go clause by clause. They wanted to bunch it in 10. Some senators, some House of Reps members, opposition essentially saying, no, it's not going to work. Let them go clause by clause. And then they started going clause by clause, but the speaker, deputy speaker who was chairing the session, was just going in a quick succession. They were trying to call his attention to that clause 60, where they wanted to argue over it again, but the majority had their way eventually. That's the caption. That's why they were showing APC only. But while that was going on, things were also happening outside the premises of the National Assembly, where we understand protesters were tear gas. But one of the men who was there is Mr. Peters Aka. I'd introduced him just a moment. Mr. Aka, thank you so much yet again. I just needed Nigerians to see what played out inside. Maybe at some point we'll play what played out outside. But you have been on the field from the very beginning, agitating and insisting on real-time transmission of electronic transmission of results, real time and all of that. But tell us what played out yesterday outside, and what's your impression as to the National Assembly giving finality to their decision yesterday?
Thank you very much. At this point, it is up to Nigerians to either unite and end the APC reign of terror over Nigeria, or APC will be the end of a democratic Nigeria as we know it. Nigeria has become an open crime scene, and what we call government in Nigeria is literally organized criminality. Every institution that is supposed to serve the welfare of the Nigerian people have become weaponized against them. And most unfortunately, it's a National Assembly and a parliament that should be the hallmark of a democracy has become an extension of the presidency, a captured assembly. So today, if President Tinubu asks Senate and House leadership to jump up, the question will be how high? And there is no end to this trajectory and these unfortunate actions. It is up to Nigeria to say enough of this political banditry. We cannot continue like this. A ruling party who claims to own more than 30 governors, have every institution, the judiciary, the police, township boys, city girls, and everybody, is afraid of one simple clause: mandatory real-time electronic transmission of results, which, by the way, INEC in itself has proven from their feasibility studies that they have the capacity to do. So let us not be ambiguous or unambiguous about this. This is a script being played out by the Senate President Kpai, written from the presidential villa, and INEC is not neutral. We were at the gate demanding for the implementation of the electronic transmission of results, and before you know it, tear gas canisters were released, or whatever substance were released on peaceful protesters. The first batch was released, people scampered and then came back there, and then there was a reinforcement of about a number of Hilux vehicles that carried some officers. The canisters were shot directly at peaceful protesters. In fact, these are some of the canisters that were picked, more than 20 or 30 of them. This was shot at protesters who ran up to the Eagle Square as far as the federal secretariat, even on passerbys who were just passing through the road, who were not part of the protest. And the question will be, who is afraid of free and fair election in Nigeria? What exactly is the ruling party afraid of? INEC has received 200 billion, claiming it wants to use electronic technology. Sir, what kind of technology is INEC trying to adopt and procure with 200 billion? What happened to the technology that was procured by Mahmoud Yakubu with over 300 billion in 2023? Are beavers machines like diapers or pampers that are used and then disposed? There is something and a lot that the ruling party is not telling us. The budget that was approved by INEC is a budget, if not clearly explained to Nigeria, will only aid and sustain electoral malpractices. And that is why, as it is today, it must become a national mobilization against this legitimizing of an electoral act that will guarantee rigging. Why is the Senate President making excuses for INEC? In today's Nigeria, lawmakers are giving reasons or excuses why electronic technology will not work against INEC's own position. The level of mischief, what a shame, and you could see it play out in the chambers. Lawmakers coming out to chant APC only, because in the face of all Nigerians and the world, leadership of the National Assembly are trying to brazenly ensure that they get a law that is going to legitimize electoral malpractice and election rigging. It is a shame, it is a travesty, and Nigerians who mean well for our lives must resist it, because for our lives to count, our votes must count.
All right, so Peter, let's try to envision what will then play out on election day with what has been passed now by the Senate.
Yes.
So the Senate says electronic transmission with manual backup. And what the Senate President said in his words is that when it was time to put it to vote, he said for those who want electronic transmission, but if that fails, Form ECAT will be used, they should vote. That's why we had 55 people voting for it. And then he reframed it for the other side, that for those who want electronic transmission, but if it doesn't work, the election should end there. They should then vote as well. That's why we had 55 people voting, senators rather. So I want you to, I know you've probably monitored elections. You've probably been there during that whole process, from the polling unit when the Form ECAT is collated and it's taken to the Ward Collation Center. What the provision says is meant to be taken there with Form ECAT. Sorry, the BVAS is meant to be taken to the Ward Collation Center with Form ECAT. But before that, the polling officer, the presiding officer, should have taken a picture of Form ECAT with BVAS for upload to IREV. So with this new provision now, with the proviso, have you tried to envision what would happen on election day with this proviso? I want us to begin to picture that and explain to Nigerians.
Yeah. I mean, with that proviso, it is clear to you to know that there will be insufficient network. And the basic thing that will happen is that we will then go back to using the Form ECHA form as the primary source of evidence when the case or elections finally head to the court. So once you see that proviso, you could listen to the former INEC rec, Dr. Mike Igini, who came on air and explained it to Nigerians. That proviso only serves the interest of persons in government who know that their only hope and guarantee is through election rigging. Mr. Kayode, INEC has made it clear that as far back as 2019 and 2020, from a technical committee that was set up between INEC and the NCC, they have implemented electronic transmission of results to as far as 96% across the country. If INEC has received more than 870 billion and says 200 billion is for electronic technology, why is it that INEC cannot even enter a partnership with Starlink? What will it cost to have technology across the 177,000 polling units? So instead of lawmakers to say, look, you have been able to achieve 96%, what is the other 4%? How can we strengthen it? A mischievous parliament will now go back to say, let us go back to the Form ECHA form. And guess what you will see as the result? You can take a look at Obiakpo local government. You can see the kind of result and mutilation, because the ground and the shrine of INEC election rigging is in the collation centers. And that is why Nigerians are insisting that let the results transmitted be evidence.
So quickly, and I want us to break this down so we are able to properly envision it. So at every polling unit, you have a party agent, right? So you have an agent for the APC, PDP, ADC, Labour Party, and the rest. And their job is and their job is quite simple: to ensure that they monitor the process, that the votes that are tallied for my party are the votes that my party really got when they were counting the votes, right? Now, these same agents are meant to move also to the Ward Collation Center to ensure that it is what happened at the polling unit that is happening at the Ward Collation Center. That's one. Two, we have voters in those polling units as well who usually stay behind and say, okay, you have to snap this thing and upload before you go. So are you saying that if peradventure they want to rig the election, what happens to these polling unit, these agents, these party agents? Aren't they there to ensure that this doesn't happen? Even the voters themselves, who are meant to mandate and say you have to snap this, are you saying that they also may fail in their duty to properly police that process?
Let us just be clear that all of what you have explained were part of the consideration of INEC when Mahmoud Yakubu wrote the INEC position paper 21 and said, in the light of all of the issues that happened between polling units, collation centers, and finally the National Collation Center, we need to reduce human interference as much as possible. You have seen cases with recorded voice notes of how governors of states went to capture collation centers where party agents were manhandled. Some persons even disappeared even till date, where security and law enforcement officials were used in collation centers, and at the end, the Form ECHA forms that were seen were different. That is why INEC in its own wisdom said, to reduce human interference, let what comes from the polling unit be transmitted in real time at that point to a central server where everybody has access to, so that between there and whatever later transpires, the results that everybody has countersigned, the presiding officer has also stamped on, becomes the evidence that will be admissible. Because Nigeria as it is today, there are strong men who have powers to envisage and to usurp whatever that happens within the system, and that is what gives credibility or gives strength to persons in the ruling party, where people can go as governors with personal security to collation centers and twist the entire process. Nigerians are saying INEC has done a feasibility study. INEC has set a record with their position paper. We want to reduce human interference from the process between voter registration, voting, and transmission. Let the results be transmitted in real time to a central place where everybody has access to, and not where people who are desperate for power can begin to undermine the process. I do not think that that is ambiguous. And anybody who is still saying that we must resort back to that from EC8A form, if you have done a certain thing for long and it has ended up in little or more and more unfortunate incidents, repeating the same thing and expecting a different result, would that not be insanity? We must understand the peculiarities of our elections, and that is why the Senate and the National Assembly must be insisting that to bring transparency and accountability, let this process be seen to be more transparent. What do we do to ensure that it is verified by Nigerians and seen to know that there is transparency? Anything other than that is a backdoor and a surreptitious attempt to steal the mandate of the people.
Ms. Aka, the biggest challenge, I was just looking at the big picture, why these issues, and the big picture is lack of trust in our institution. If INEC was a trusted agency, I don't think all of this will happen. That's why I'm telling you, lead the campaign around fixing INEC as an institution. So there's a crisis of confidence here in INEC, and the judiciary, and all of that. But before I ask my question, let me run through a few data. So as a 2023 presidential election, now people are really paying attention to the presidential election, which is very important. So there's expected to be greater vigilance when it comes to presidential election. The subnational is where the bigger shenanigans usually happen. So let's talk about the presidential election and some of the things I want to ask you. From the record of INEC IREV, I checked out yesterday, total of 176,846 polling units. Uploaded results in that election for presidential poll was 167,443 results, not uploaded about 9,403. So total uploaded results, whenever they finally came to about 94%. So we had just about 6% of election results not uploaded. And then, you know, there's a Form EC40G that has to do with when elections are cancelled or elections don't hold, that can override whatever has been perhaps published as Form EC80 because of what had happened. So this is the reality. Majority in democracy have now had their way. What is left now is for the president to either sign or not sign this piece of legislation into law. Let's assume, because it's his party, is going to sign this into law. What is the biggest advisory now, as a citizen and activist who is at the vanguard of ensuring that we have free, fair, credible election, which is fair to ask? What should citizens be doing right now?
Everybody must mobilize nationwide and ensure that that bill is repealed and reenacted. The same way that the pressure was put on the National Assembly, because let us be clear about this. An Electoral Act amendment bill that is supposed to serve the interest of the country has taken almost 3 years to pass since 2023. The same National Assembly that changed the national anthem in 1 day. If President Tinubu wants to borrow money today from OPE to clear Pampe, he will get it under 5 minutes. But somehow, after spending more than 300 billion, they said there was a glitch. Until today, nobody has told Nigeria what caused the glitch. And then we have an electoral bill that has dragged almost less than a year into the next election. Everything is deliberate. The current INEC chairman is likely to be worse than Professor Mahmoud Yakubu, because until INEC and the National Assembly comes to do an expose of what every penny in the INEC budget is to be used for, it is only going to sustain and aid electoral malpractices. Do you know that in INEC today, every election, contractors are awarded contracts for electronic technology to the tune of hundreds of millions? When there was a glitch in 2023, which of those contractors was brought to book? Which of them was prosecuted or questioned as to why the technology failed? But we have budgeted another 200 billion. So it is up to Nigerians to decide whether we want to remain hostages and taken hostage by a handful of desperate politicians who want to retain in power with or without the mandate of the people. So as it is today, Nigerians must mobilize and reject it, for the Senate to recall themselves and National Assembly and repeal that bill. And ahead of that or beyond that, it must become a rallying point for mobilization mobilization ahead of 2027. Because even when that bill is passed, if it is eventually scales through, there will still be loopholes. Nigerian politicians can do, there is no extent to the level of crime and criminality desperate politicians will not get into. So Nigerians must know that this depends, our lives depend on it. There is no country where the vote of the people count, where leaders will act as irresponsibly and as reckless as what we see in Nigeria today. So as a people, this law is just a pointer to a problem, that elections have consequences, and that is where we are today. Buhari was the mistake that should never have been made. Tinubu is the consequence of that mistake. If we allow a consolidation of the criminality that took place in 2023, we are the collateral for bad governance. We are paying with our lives, as you can see in Kwara, in Benue Plateau, all over the country, in southern Kaduna. So the choice is ours to make. If we want to be accomplices to our own oppression, or we want to cooperate with our hostage takers, or we want to unite and fight for freedom. But as for us, a luta continua. I'm not a criminal. I want a better country. And this country, we do not die here. We live here. Nigeria must work in my lifetime. Every Nigerian must wake up and know that this is an assault. This is a coup against democracy. If you allow it to prevail, so Nigerian politicians will test your ability to take bad governance.
Two things, Mr. Peter. To be realistic, is it realistic to expect them to rescind their decision after they just rescinded what they put out? You know, there was a clause that was rescinded and then adopted in the repeal and reenactment. That's on one hand. So is it really possible to expect all of that at the end of the day? Shouldn't the citizens be looking at how to manage the situation that is already at hand? Because as a matter of fact, right now we are racing against time. Literally
against time,
racing. We even worry about logistics because the big picture. So what is really, I want you to speak to what is realistic. Nigeria belongs to all of us, and it is within their my apologies, it is within their right as well to say they want a proviso to back up, whether they want to use it for rigging or whatever, or is for the right reason or the wrong reason. That's why we're arguing. But it's also within their right to say this is what we want, and they've garnered the right majority to get what they want. You get my drift?
No, it is not within their rights to usurp to use their powers against the people. It is within their rights to mirror the aspirations of people they represent. Let us not be confused. The issues of technology were settled by even technical committees from the what do they call them? Public hearings that met with both houses and the committees. So this issue is just orchestrated by a handful of politicians with pressure from the presidency. It is not within the right of lawmakers to take away what is the popular demand of the citizens, and what they know will enhance transparency. And on the issue of repealing and reenacting, it is unfortunate that when we began the campaign for these electoral reforms as far back as 2023, I have almost become a broken record. Some persons did not see reason for it. They felt, oh man, maybe it is not that important, or we can get it. This delay we have today was deliberate. Everything you see going on, the confusion you see in the system is not coming out of the blues. It is a strategy to use confusion as a period and a way of manipulation. So in all of this, the citizens will become overwhelmed. Time has run out. What can we do? And within this, that is when you see politicians begin to strike. If Nigerians in a critical mass insist that the right thing to be done, it will be done. The same way they went on holidays and record themselves. But beyond that, I will continue to insist. Nigerians have the power to put pressure that what needs to be done, a clear bill is passed, and then mobilize ahead of 2027. So in all that we do, I agree with you to the extent that we must not take our eyes off the goal, which is 2027 elections. But the road that lead up to 2027 is as important as what eventually happens there. It is up to Nigerians. We must ask ourselves the question, between the power of the people and criminals in power, which should be greater? Once the people decide that enough, it will be enough. But for as long as we continue to argue whether it can be done, it cannot be done, will it be done, then we give them the opportunity to consolidate on what is their plan. But once the people say this is what the majority wants, it will scale through.
And that is really the idea of representation, right? That's what this form of democracy is meant to achieve. So there are 200 million plus people in Nigeria. Obviously, the 200 million plus people can't sit down to make every single decision. So democracy said, let's have people represent these 200 million people in groups from states, senatorial districts, or for House of Reps and the rest. And it's meant to be what the majority within those people decide that their representative then puts forward as a decision, really, because you can't have everybody choose the same thing. So when you say that this is not the decision of majority, some of the lawmakers will tell you that, well, I am doing what my people want. If they don't want it, they have not protested. All I'm seeing are people protesting at the gate of the National Assembly, maybe civil society and activists. My people back home are not protesting. So really, can you fault some of them for saying, yeah, I'm doing what my people want? I don't know who your senator is, how your senator voted, but I'm almost certain that your senator may have voted for this.
You know, Mr. Kayode, it is a tragedy that we are having this conversation in this manner, because one of the mistakes we'll make is to assume that the 10th National Assembly is a normal parliament. We have a parliament that is supposed to carry out oversight over other arms of government. And at every point when the president goes to submit his budget or enter the parliament, he's greeted with his political mantra, on their mandate they shall collapse. So what we have today is a captured assembly. The 10th assembly has basically become an extension or an annex of the presidency. When you go and the wire or everything goes into the detail, then you will know if persons who are there are acting independently. And do not also forget that we also need the benefit of hindsight to know how the persons who got there in the first place. The 2023 elections, and how we spend billions of naira only for us to sit back and allow the courts and the judiciary to pick leaders for us. So we must even ask ourselves the questions. The persons who are in the 10th assembly today, were they truly voted in by Nigerians? Did the Senate president contest to be a senator, or he contested to be president in the APC? And how he finally landed in the National Assembly to even become the Senate president? Unfortunately, Nigerians are between the rock and the hard place, where you are demanding change from a people who do not even or are beneficiaries of a dysfunctional system. So if we want to say they are mirroring the aspirations of the people, we must also query the process through which they got there and how we are going to move forward. As it is today, I do not know if there should be any argument, whether parliamentarians, whether citizens, as to improving transparency and accountability in the process. But Nigeria is what it is, and the people must decide that as it is today, until your votes begin to count, in a normal situation, in an ideal situation, should it not be a conversation to say that how do we strengthen it as against a handful putting and overloading their own, desires upon the people? It is a shame and it is a tragedy. So before we talk about them representing the people, we have to query how they got there in the first place. But this is what we have to deal with. It is either we put pressure on what we have now to get what we want, or we devise a means to meet them at the point at the polling unit and on election day. That is where the Nigerian people are. It is unfortunate, but it is our reality. But we can also do better and make this country work for all of us.
Do you think the president will sign this bill into law?
Okay, should I be honest with you, because you asked a direct answer? If there are free and fair elections in Nigeria today, the defeat of President Tinubu and his APC gang will be announced before 1 p.m. on election day. What you see the Senate do, because the House had passed a bill with real time, by the way, and should we say that the House were not in their senses when they passed the bill with real time? What exactly happened before the House decided to reenact their own bill?
Language, my apologies, please. Let's be mindful of language. We may disagree. You may disagree with the National Assembly, disagree with the House of Reps, and even disagree with the persons there, but language is quite important for respect. So don't denigrate anybody and disparage anybody. So let's be mindful
Very
of
respectful,
language.
yes.
Yes, please. Let's be mindful of language so we respect our institutions. The reason I asked that question is, we know what had played out before former President Muhammadu Buhari, who is now passed, eventually had to sign the bill into law just at maybe the twilight of his administration. So that's why I'm asking. Because now when you say, there's a difference between, what's on ground and what could be achieved. So APC, for instance. So let's talk about the Nigerian reality. So I had a conversation with Professor, I think, Farotimi, and then Mr. Chief Dele Farotimi, in his response, talked about the naivety. I think that was the caption of his write-up, naivety of the intelligentsia or something of that nature. Now, what he was trying to say was the fact that there is politics, and then there is the Nigerian brand of politics. You can decide to define that Nigerian brand of politics. So let's be realistic. 29 going on 30 governors, 78 or so senators in the National Assembly, over 250 or 260 House of Reps member. So if you have all of these governors who are now members of the APC, technically, with a greater sense of respect, most of these assemblies are appendages of the governor. They control these things, so they control local government. Yes. So you see the picture I'm painting. How realistic is it to knock off President Tinubu with what he's put on ground in terms of the formidability of his politics?
You know, it is unfortunate where Nigeria is. We wish that as we respect the presidency and we respect our institutions, our leaders have enough respect for the people, such that when, for example, 100 people are killed in Kwara, the president does not attend the fishing festival in Kebbi, or where there are elections, people do not need to die. Mr. Godfrey, we are talking about governors being in a party and it being an opportunity for people to win. Why is it that governors are 36? If one man, one vote, and the votes of the people count, that is 36 votes, let us assume. In the United States of America, in New York, for example, a mayor ran against the incumbent party governor, the former mayor Eric Adams. The US president was against that same mayor. But today, Zoran Mamdani is seated as the New York mayor there. You know why? Because their system is built on the mandate of the people. Donald Trump ran in North Carolina. The people of North Carolina voted the Democratic governor, but Trump won the US state of North Carolina. But in Nigeria today, you know why all of us are concerned about people defecting to a party? Because somehow it confirms the argument that they have a role to play in deciding the outcome of that process. And that is why when people defect, you begin to say, oh, that they have so many governors. They do not have 30 states, they have 30 governors. And if those people vote as per one man, one vote, everybody has one vote. Right. And the citizens also have their votes. But why is it that their eventual moving to a party automatically decides how the result of that state turns out? This is a situation that Nigerians must address. If we fail to address it, we have handed Nigeria over to strong men and not strong institutions.
So do you think that mandatory electronic transmission is maybe, let's imagine, Mr. Peter Obi's only route to winning the election?
You know, Mr. Kayode, let me be very honest with you, because when we speak sometimes, it may seem like you have a particular interest. I have never met President Tinubu. I have never met most of the persons who are running for presidency. What we are saying is this. Let there be elections that are seen to be free, fair, credible, and peaceful. Whoever that emerges from this process should be acceptable to Nigerians. Mr. Kayode, we should not spend billions of naira on a process and then we have a glitch. How can we have a situation when 93 million people register to vote, 87 million collect PVCs, less than 30 million come out to vote? President Tinubu is seated in the villa with less than 9 million votes as a mandate. In what exam does a person write and score less than 50% and is promoted to the next class? We as a people must decide to ask ourselves, what exactly do we want to achieve?
Mr. Peter, you know that is the law.
That is, it is also part of the electoral amendment. Right. Yes.
Exactly.
Yes. It is also part of the Electoral Act amendment. You know, because of all of that has been happening, a lot of emphasis have been laid on, this electronic transmission. The bill contains other clauses. Remember the clause that was talked about by Senator Seraki Dixon on moving the burden of proof from the petitioners to INEC. The issue of direct primaries has also now been, been passed. Indirect primaries have been taken out, handing over more power to the political parties. Nigerians, including media and everybody, must become very concerned about this act. It is not even just the electronic transmission of results, but because we do not pay attention, even issues of the percentage that you should get. Remember how the tribunal or the Supreme Court administered and interpreted the case of if you should have 25% in how many states and Abuja. These are all issues that should be looked into so that the courts or the judiciary do not continue to rule on technicalities. And above all, we do not have a judicialization of our electoral process where we spend billions to conduct a process and then wait for the courts to choose our leaders.
Aka, it's a continuous struggle, as you say, a luta continua from your end and from everybody who is uncomfortable with the situation. But those who are comfortable, they are excited. So it's a mixed bag of everything. But at the end of the day, I think what all of us want is an election that we can trust the outcome, where if you win, we know you did not mobilize enough, not because you rigged or you cheated or you gamed the system.
So guys, let me quickly show you how some Nigerians have reacted to this news, like Mr. Tanko tweeted saying, criminality at its best. Everybody should be ready for another electoral showdown. Nigeria must be free from criminals. As Channel Television tweeted saying Tinubu signs electoral bill into law. Hey, God. So guys, this came as a big shock to Nigerians. That Tinubu can be this fast in signing electoral bill when many people, when many people have been lamenting on how Tinubu has been so silent as regards to insecurity. But it got to electoral bill, Tinubu just stood up and signed it within the space of minutes, hours. And now they are telling us that it's a law, that on the day of the election, if there's no internet, that they should use manual so that they can do all the caricatures that they usually do. Hey, they will use police. They won't allow you into the collation room. They will manipulate. They will do all kinds of things, guys. Now, this person here says, once again, the ruling class has taken advantage of the silence of Nigerians when decisions are forced on citizens without trust and consensus. This is not democracy. It's power speaking to itself. The Nigerian political class must stop taking the silence of the people, of the Nigerian public, as weakness. Silence is not surrender. It's patience, and patience has limits. Now, this other person here tweeted saying, everything that is happening brings to memory of a great reggae legend and prophet who died 46 years ago, and his philosophical words live in our world. Bob Marley said, you cannot find justice in a world where criminals made the rules. When impunity becomes the chief law officer, criminality will become a daily norm. Posterity will forever judge you all. Come, Showore is another prophet, as he declared that Tinubu will hasten the inevitable revolution. Revolution is coming, that even the hunter will become the hunted. So, guys, it's really so shameful. So shameful that Tinubu can condescend. This man say, yes, Nigeria will be free from liars, gaslighters, manipulators who want to steal the election through the back door, and we know who they are. You also know who they are because it is a conscience thing, except you have thrown your own away. Tinubu started preparing for this person is just a Tinubu's supporter. He's trying to say Tinubu started preparing on time, and then why is Tinubu scared if he has been preparing? Now this other person here is hear us my question. What if Nigerians deploy Starlink to every polling unit and have the polling officers link up and upload? Won't they turn off the IRF like they did the last time? What about setting up an alternative IRF powered by Nigeria, where real-time results can be uploaded for all to see? This person has said, brotherly, no louder. He thinks say now every body their demonic charm they work for. That thing is signed, he go cancel them with that same hand. So guys, the Tinubu's government is really taking Nigerians for granted. So pathetic. Now, Peter for Nigeria even went to the embassy to tell them that Tinubu is refusing to sign the bill, only for Tinubu to quickly sign the bill into the law. So guys, into law. I don't know what you make of this. There can never be more way to describe, a kind of hijack of a country's democracy than what we are seeing here. Now, former Vice President of Nigeria, Yemi Osinbajo, paid a courtesy visit to Governor of Abia State, Alex Otti, in a visit that coincided with Governor Otti's 61st birthday celebration. Yeah, it's been a while. I've not seen Yemi Osinbajo. He just stayed away from politics. That's nice to see. Okay, guys, let me know what you think about all this in the comment section below. Please don't forget to subscribe to the channel and turn on the bell notification for more. Thank you.